Everybody been having a good week? Busy week? Good week? I'll share with you a little later about my week that I had. Let me just first of all do this. We're in the book of Nehemiah. In case there's any questions, you can go there. We're covering chapter 11. Our series in the book of Nehemiah, I'm sorry, I'm just having a hard time. This feels like it's way out here. And I can see it out of my peripheral view, and it's like, who's following me? We've been discussing rebuilding with purpose, rebuilding our lives, rebuilding our families, our marriage, and we've covered a lot of series of things concerning where we're living today, and our story today is found in the book of Nehemiah chapter 11. It has to do with the idea of now that the walls have been built, celebration has happened, there is a need to begin to repopulate the city. Up until this time, the people who lived there were sparse. Over a period of over 100 years, they had gone into captivity. Now they're making their way back. Three different sections of people came back, three different groups of people came back to Jerusalem and to Israel. And there's this idea of now over a period of time, they've been establishing their lives elsewhere, but now Jerusalem has been put together, the walls have been set up, and now the focus and the attention is being able to be put upon the repopulating of the city, and there's certain purposes and reasons why that is today. So anyway, we're going to be looking at that. So as I want to just remind you, we discovered the purpose for Jerusalem was found in chapter 7. We covered that a few weeks back. And the purpose of Jerusalem, does anybody remember why Jerusalem existed as a city? Anybody? Just a reminder, is that the purpose of the city of Jerusalem was so that God could have an intimate relationship with his people. It was a place of his choosing. Started all the way back to when Abraham was asked of God to take his son Isaac and to go and sacrifice him on Mount Moriah, right? That was in Genesis 22. Then in 2 Chronicles chapter 3, Solomon is instructed by God that he is to build the first temple up upon that same mountaintop. And then later on, it was in that same region or area in Jerusalem that the Son of God, which takes away the sins of the people, was to be crucified. So this is a very important plot of land on our earth. And so this was a place where he established worship through the temple and the sacrifice system that was set up there so that God could visit his people. God could dwell amongst his people. That word tabernacle means to dwell among. And so that was God's heart. He was revealing that he wanted to choose a people for himself, his own special treasure, so that he could spend time with them. And that's the importance of this city that we're talking about today. And nothing has changed too much other than the location of where the Lord dwells. It's where? In the hearts of the believers, right? So as we look at this repopulation of the city, we're going to read the first 3 verses of chapter 11, because the rest of the verses, I have a hard time pronouncing the names of all the people that they discuss there. So anyway, let's look at Nehemiah 11, verse 1. Now the leaders of the people lived in Jerusalem, but the rest of the people cast lots to bring 1 out of 10 to live in the city of Jerusalem, this holy city, where 9/10 remained where? Other cities, right? And the people blessed all the men who volunteered to live in Jerusalem. Now these are the heads of the provinces who lived in Jerusalem and in the cities of Judah. Each lived on his own property in their own cities, the Israelites, the priests, the Levites, temple servants, and the descendants of Solomon's servants. So as we continue on with our study here, one of the things to repopulate the city, they needed to take two steps. One of them had to do with anyone out of all the people of Israel, anyone that wanted to volunteer and live within the city, then they would have their choice of being able to come in and build their houses within the city and be able to live in the city area there. So this is the first section of people. It's important to read that the volunteers, the one who chose to give up their life elsewhere and move into this city of Jerusalem, it says that they were praised by the other people. And I looked up the word volunteer because sometimes we volunteer people, and that doesn't mean that they really are volunteering, right? But the word volunteer here in the Hebrew means to incite or to be compelled. Another definition that goes along with that is that these individuals who have chosen to move to Jerusalem, who have volunteered, means that they are offering themselves as a free will offering. It's a decision to gift their life to the city and to its purpose. And that's the idea of what is taking place here, is these individuals have chosen to leave their life from where it was to come and start life anew within this city region here. And why did it says in verse 2, it says that the people blessed them. They came and blessed them. And I looked up that word just to see what that means, because for us to bless somebody is we just lay hands on them and we bless you in the name of Jesus. But this is what that word means. It means to kneel before them and to praise them. So can you imagine somebody with such gratitude for the sacrifice that you're making, they come and they kneel before you and they begin to just praise you for the decision that you've made to volunteer for a position. I know sometimes we don't act like that, but that's the position sometimes we'd like to take when somebody volunteers for nursery or children's church. Thank you for taking that position. And we never want to forget the sacrifice that you're making to be in there with our children and loving on them, to showing the love of Jesus to them while the rest of us are out doing our thing here. So I want to thank you for that. But this is the idea, that it's a free will offering. They're offering their lives to the purposes of God and to the purpose that the city was established. That's the key element of this is, and this is on your study guide 1, 2, and 3. The reason that these people blessed them was because of these three elements here. First of all, as long as Jerusalem stands, then the temple, as long as Jerusalem stands, because it's the key element of the city of Israel, it's the capital of the nation, and as long as that capital exists, then the nation of Israel will exist. Secondly, as long as Jerusalem stands, then the temple worship of God can continue to be in operation. And that's the backbone of the whole nation, is their worship to God and having God be in their midst. And as long as Jerusalem stands, if it fell, then it left the people unprotected, and Israel as a nation would no longer exist, and they would be put back into captivity. So they have just come out of that, and they see new hope being arising before them as Nehemiah comes and rebuilds these walls. And so these people are volunteering, of giving up their lives, they're making this sacrifice to move into this city, and these people are thankful that somebody is going to step in. They're thankful, first of all, that it's not them, thankful for them to go forward and to populate the city. But after it's all said and done, all of those that have volunteered their life to help repopulate the city is still not enough. City's still sparse. So they had to step into the second step of this, which is described for us is casting lots. And as they're ready to to cast lots for a tenth or a tithe of the remaining families to be chosen. I looked up this idea of casting lots, and really nobody they have some ideas or thoughts of what it is, but nobody is conclusive that this is what was done and how it was done. But the idea was taking stones with symbols or sticks with markers on them, and we've all kind of, when we're picking something, pick the shortest straw and then you're stuck, And so it was like an ancient draft system, but it wasn't a game of chance that they did this. They believed with all their heart, because this goes all the way into the New Testament before the day of Pentecost, remember? As they were picking out a new individual to fulfill the 12 disciple, the position of Judas, they cast lots there. And so there's this idea of knowing that as they began to practice this draft system, we'll sort of say, that God is going to be intricately involved in revealing what his will is through this action of casting lots. So God is the one who's orchestrating this and then extending this invitation to the remaining families that are out there that haven't volunteered, and inviting them to be a part of the population of that city of Jerusalem. Do you understand that? And so as this takes place, I read in 2 different commentaries that some of the families said, you know what, thank you for choosing me, but I decline and I'm going to go to Canada. Right? That's what happened in '68 when I was up for the draft in Vietnam. My number was 80 something, and it was like, oh God, I don't want to go. But God, it went all the way up through for the birthday. They'd pick your birthday, and what they did in Lotto system, that they would pick up birthdays 365 days of the week, and then you would get that number, whatever your birthday is, by whatever they picked up. And mine was 80 something. And my birthday's in December. I would have been happy to be 300 and something, but it wasn't that way. And so I remember going in, and they had you take off everything but your shorts, give you these the sandals that were actually paper sandals, and you're walking up and down all these halls, and the doctors are doing all kinds of tests on you, and man, I'm thinking, oh God, get me out of this. That's when you're close to God, is when you're going through those times. And anyway, I went into Bible college, and I never got called because it was a Lotto system. God had another plan for my life. Some of my other friends went, some died there, some came back messed up, and it was a difficult time, but it's an act of surrender when you're picked by the draft. And this is what took place here. Some of the people, it said in one commentary, they weren't forced to move there. They were invited to come there. And so that one new Bible. And what is that? Since they moved Jerusalem, first of all, these moved Jerusalem, what is that? The reason keeping moving was again, they had this belief system that have a business, and you are enjoying the others coming and being a part of that business that are non-Jews, then that was one of the reasons that they didn't want to move, because then they knew that would be interrupted. It would cut up that resource that they would have between the non-Jews there. The second thing was that meant starting all over again. They established hosts by period of time. They had neighborhoods, they lived in, friends, that were their business in one of the reasons, if you have a business and you are enjoying the others coming and being a part of that business that are non-Jews, then that was one of the reasons that they didn't want to move, because then they knew that would be interrupted. It would cut up that resource that they would have between the non-Jews there. The second thing was that meant starting all over again. They had established homes by this period of time. They had neighborhoods that they lived in, friends that were surrounded with. They had their businesses established in these different towns and cities throughout Judah. And so now, start all over. They got to move to the city, and now they're going to